All right, let's get right into it. Today we're doing a deep dive on environmental awareness.
But not the kind you might be thinking of.
No, definitely not. We're talking about the microclimate inside, say, a server room, specifically the NTI E-CO2-THS sensor.
It's a 4-in-1, and it really packs a punch for what it is.
It really does.
You've got CO2, temperature, humidity, and the one that's often missing from cheaper units, dew point. It's basically a complete nervous system for the room.
Okay, but let's talk about the price first, because this thing runs about $235.
Right.
I mean, I can get a smart home gizmo for $30 that tells me the temperature. So why would a facility manager pay almost 10 times that for this?
Well, it really comes down to reliability. You know, industrial grade versus consumer grade, you're not paying for a guess.
You're paying for precision.
You're paying for the tech inside. It uses something called NDIR, single beam non-dispersive infrared.
Which is pretty much the gold standard for this kind of thing, right?
It is. It literally uses an infrared beam to measure the gas concentration. The cheaper sensors, they often use a chemical process that kind of drifts over time.
Ah, I see.
This NTI unit, it measures CO2 from 400 all the way up to 2,000 parts per million. And the accuracy is so tight, you could actually automate your HVAC with it.
Okay, so that brings up a question for me. We're talking about a server room. Servers don't breathe. So why do we even care about CO2 levels in a data center?
That's a super common question. And you're right, the servers themselves, they don't care.
Right.
But the CO2 level is a fantastic proxy for two other things: human presence, and more importantly, HVAC efficiency.
So if the CO2 is spiking,
it means your air exchange is sluggish, you're getting stagnant air, and stagnant air leads directly to heat pockets. And a heat pocket will absolutely kill a server drive.
so it's less about breathing and more about validating your airflow, an efficiency metric.
Precisely.
Okay, that makes sense. So that covers the CO2. What about the THS, temperature and humidity? Range looks pretty standard, 14 to 140 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, fairly standard, though the accuracy is what's important. It's within about 1.4 degrees in a normal room temp.
Okay.
But the real hero here, and the reason you buy this specific sensor, is the dew point support.
All right, break that down for us. Why is dew point so much more critical for hardware than just humidity?
Okay, so think of it like this. Humidity is just. It's the amount of water vapor in the air.
Sure.
High humidity is bad, we know that. But dew point is the exact temperature where that invisible vapor stops being vapor and becomes liquid water. A puddle on your motherboard.
Which is an instant short circuit, game over.
Exactly. If you're only watching relative humidity, you could totally miss the danger zone when the temperature fluctuates. This sensor calculates it so you know the exact moment condensation becomes a physical threat.
That's a huge distinction. Wow. Okay, now looking at the physical side, it's an RJ45 connector, so it just plugs in with a standard CT5 or KT6 cable.
It does, which is great for easy integration, but the really smart part is how it communicates. It uses RS-485.
And that's a digital signal.
Right. And in a server room, that is everything. Those places are incredibly noisy, electrically speaking.
All the power supplies, the UPS units.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you tried to run an analog signal through that electrical chaos, the interference would just scramble the data. You'd get ghost readings.
Makes sense.
But because this is digital, it has a high resistance to all that electromagnetic noise. The data stays clean.
And what about the length of that cable? The scalability here seems pretty impressive. I see the standard is 50 feet.
Right, which is usually fine for a single room.
But you can push it way further.
Oh yeah, if you pair it with what's called an EFSC fiber converter, you can place that sensor up to 1.2 miles away from the main unit.
1.2 miles. So that's what, 2 kilometers?
Yep, 2 kilometers. You could monitor the dew point in a remote utility building from your central office on the other side of a campus. No problem.
That is wild. And it just plugs into the ENVIROMUX units.
That's right, the E2D, 5D, or 16D models. Just a quick tip for anyone listening who's an integrator. If you're using the E2D, you have to make sure it's a Rev C or newer model.
Good to know. So when you put it all together, this isn't just a thermometer. It's really about managing, I guess, total room health.
That's the perfect way to put it. Uptime is everything in modern infrastructure. You can't just check if it's hot. You need to know the air chemistry and the exact moisture threat.
It definitely raises the bar for what we should consider monitoring.
And it leaves you with a thought, doesn't it? If we can now spot a single drop of condensation forming a mile away, what other invisible risks are sitting in our data centers right now, completely ignored just because we don't have the right sensor to see them yet?
That is something to think about on your next site audit. Thanks for tuning in to this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.